If you're not from Sweden, this is a crash course for you. Sweden is probably located north of your home country. It is the fifth largest country in Europe with a population of about 10.5 million people. In other words, the population density is quite low, and a drone image shows a predominantly rural country. The three largest cities are Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö in the south. But when talking about the green transition, it is usually the vast landscape of Norrland that comes to mind. A new industry is currently emerging there, thanks to green energy from the sun, wind, and water. The weather in Sweden can be quite cold, by the way, and quite hot, sometimes. The trend of working from home that started during the pandemic continues. Around 40% still work partly from home, thanks to well-developed digitalization. Parental insurance is relatively equal, with 54% of women and 46% of men taking advantage of it and staying at home with their children. Overall, Sweden is considered to be the third best country in the world to live in, according to the new survey Best Countries by US News. Sweden is distinguished by areas such as a strong public sector, free healthcare, equality, and sustainability. Let's talk about innovation. According to the UN Global Innovations Index 2023, Sweden is the second most innovative country in the world. This is the 16th consecutive year that Sweden has been ranked in the top 3 in the world. And what is behind this success? The fact that there are 50 universities that are free to study at obviously contributes to a knowledge-intensive country. When it comes to per capita investment in research and development, Sweden ranks 3rd in the world. This has created good conditions for innovation and the ability to turn innovations into products and services. Other success factors have been cooperation across borders. Large companies, startups, academia, and the public sector create more value together than separately. So, despite the country's relative smallness, exports are high, and this means a presence in many different markets. And this is a selection of Swedish companies. In a survey, 8 out of 10 large Swedish companies stated that innovation ranks as a top 3 priority. This is in spite of global concerns, or perhaps because of them. The need for new solutions that are economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable is greater than ever. So high rankings on global indices, as we have just boasted, come with a responsibility. And that responsibility is to drive change. The key will be doing it together with you and the rest of the world. Together, for a sustainable world.
Hi, welcome to this session where we will be introducing the Swedish innovation ecosystem. My name is Regina Summer, and I've had the honor to be part of Sweden Innovation Days since day 1. This is the 4th year. We have this fantastic digital event welcoming the world to learn more about the Swedish innovation ecosystem. Well, you heard in the film just shown some factors actually that make Sweden a fantastic innovation leader globally. Well, we rank very often of top 3, either if it's on a European level or on a global level. And one thing that really makes us be that leader, or actually helps us become that leader and stay holding that leadership, is the fact that Sweden invests 3.5% of our GDP on research and development. We are a small country, 10.5 million inhabitants, but the ecosystem is fantastic and very, very large. When it comes to for example, startups, and I think that many of you maybe know Sweden as a startup nation, we often rank as the second, and that's actually the Stockholm region, ranks as the second most unicorn producing region in the world after Silicon Valley. The support we have on a grassroots level is, of course, also one of the reasons for Sweden being this innovative leader. And we have more than 30 incubators all along this long country. And we also have more than 30 science parks that supports anyone that has an idea and has any kind of research that they want to create some kind of impact with outside of the academic world. We also are usually on the top most producing country of patents along in the world. When it comes to universities, and I think it was mentioned in the movie that Sweden has more than 45 different universities or university colleges, but to be honest, if you rank also the private ones, we have more than 60 universities and university colleges. 5 of these universities are among the best universities in the world, and these universities have a support system to create an impact and to create value also outside of the academic world. The government introduced and started innovation offices. And today we have 13 innovation offices that work with supporting all universities, all the public universities in Sweden, in trying to create, both from a student perspective, create something more outside of the university, but also for the researchers to create some more value from their research outside of the university. So the innovation offices is that first support that we have in our academic world. The universities in Sweden are not allowed to have any kind of commercial activity, so there are 19 holding companies. These 19 holding companies are, in some cases, the innovation office is part of the holding company, but many of the incubators that we have along Sweden are also part of the holding companies. And there are, like I said, 19 holding companies in Sweden today. So with all these universities and university colleges that are situated all along Sweden, we of course have a very highly skilled population, a very highly skilled workforce. Almost 45% of Swedes have some kind of higher education. And this, of course, is very important to create an innovation country as Sweden. Sweden has a very long tradition of innovating. And I think that many of you probably know about the Nobel Prize. Well, the Nobel Prize was something created by Alfred Nobel, a researcher and an entrepreneur that in the 20th century left in his will that he wanted 94% of his assets to go to people that, and it is stated in the will, whom the people to whom deserves it the most. And today it is shared in 5, actually 6 prizes that are in the following categories. You have the Nobel Prize in Peace, you have in literature, economics, you have in physics, chemistry, and also physiology, or you can say medicine. The prize is awarded every year on the 10th of December. And I think, and I know that many of the Swedish embassies across the world really emphasizes and shares light on this event. So in your country, please look after the Swedish embassy and you will hear more about the activities they have when it comes to the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Day. A very, very important factor for being one of the most innovative countries in the world is, of course, our industry. The industry in Sweden started even before the Nobel Prize. So the Nobel Prize is, even if it's from the 20th century, it is quite young. The industry in Sweden started in the 17th century. It was Holmen that started industrial production of forestry. Today, of course, we have the iron production that has also been a very important part of creating this innovative country. And as you can see here on the slides, these are some of the multinationals that Sweden has, and these companies have been around in many countries for several hundred years. We are a small country, absolutely, but when it comes to the industry, we are a giant. I wanted to mention also that I said before that 3.5% of our GDP is invested in research and development. But what is very important to mention is that 1/3 of that comes from our government and 2/3 come from the companies that you see on this slide and some more. A lot of these companies have the research and development headquarters in Sweden. Digitalization has also been a very important part of creating this innovative country. Sweden is a very tech-savvy nation, and we are very early adapters. Even if Sweden not always is the first market, we are an extremely good testbed. And also, the digitalization knowledge that we have in Sweden is amazing, because in the 1980s, digitalization was part of the school curriculum. So anyone in Sweden has a very, very high knowledge of digitalization. And today, this of course has broadened. We have several other innovation areas, for example, electrification, robotics. And there are some important things here to mention, that we have the investments that are made. I mentioned 3.5% of our GDP is invested. You heard that we have the talent, we have the knowledge, but is that enough? There are actually other countries that also have these things. So what makes Sweden special? What makes us one of the absolutely best innovative countries in the world? I would say collaboration and transparency. Collaboration is something that we are taught in school from the very, very early stage. You work in teams in school. Also, the fact that we have a trust. We trust in each other, the government trusts its citizens, the citizens trust their public organization. If you look into the rankings globally, Sweden has an extremely high transparency rate that we are very, very proud of. And these things makes us collaborate, because collaboration, of course, is based on trust. So these two are very, very important, and that makes us very, very unique. In Sweden, to be honest, we actually have a lot of innovation partnerships that are among competitors. So the picture I showed with the multinationals, many of them collaborate in research and innovation projects. They have different ways of doing things, but they have the same goals. And today, it is to reach the Sustainable Development Goals, to transform our society and to transform our industry. The one thing that is very important in our innovation ecosystem also is the fact that Vinnova and many other organizations in Sweden also at a very early stage introduced the triple helix model. It meant that the government wanted to support projects where the industry collaborated with the academia. Today that has developed to a quadruple helix, and we also talk about the system innovation perspective, because we believe that it's extremely important to innovate in the absolutely broadest sense, which also means to include a regulatory perspective, a policy perspective, because we know that the innovative techniques or tech can be very fast moving, and then regulation and policy has to move along and create, enable for these innovations to create the impact that is needed. We also have worked a lot with a mission-oriented approach, and I'm just going to mention this briefly because you could hold a whole session on only the mission-oriented approach. And actually, in one of the previous Sweden Innovation Days, we focused a lot on the mission-oriented approach. It means to have joint missions where you can work in different paths towards that mission, but the important thing is that we create these joint missions and achieve it together. Sweden has a fantastic support system for anyone that has an idea or an invention. The landscape is very, very broad, and in this slide you can see some of the many of the incubators and science parks that we have, both the ones that are public funded, but also the private ones. And you see there are very many of these that have focus on general tech, but we also have the ones that are specialized in deep tech, food tech, climate tech, and so forth. I would really recommend for you, if you want to learn more, to download the Deal Room report that showcases the state of the Swedish tech. It was just released a month ago, so it's very fresh. I could also mention one of the reasons that we have a fantastic ecosystem with so many incubators, so many strong incubators. It is because of the National Incubator Program. That is a program that has been funded by Vinnova to create the development, support the development of incubators, and also create a collaboration among the incubators in Sweden. I was mentioning the state of Swedish tech that was released just a month ago, and actually just a week ago we found out that one of the incubators, the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship Lab, was ranked as the #1 incubator in Sweden. And this was a global setting presented by Financial Times. Sweden also has a lot of test beds. The research institutes of Sweden have almost 100 test beds covering the whole country from the north to the south. And here I really recommend for you to visit the ri.se. You can find out where these different test and demo beds are situated. Adding to that, we have the honor to host state-of-the-art facilities. We have, for example, the European spallation source down in Lund with the most powerful neutron source. We also have Max 4 down in Lund, just neighbor to ESS, the Max 4 lab providing most brilliant X-rays. I would like to finish here just by saying welcome to join our innovation ecosystem. I hope you got this brief introduction of everything that is available here in Sweden and the work that we're doing. But this coming 2 days, we'll definitely deep dive in that. Now I would like to invite my colleague Anna Hammarberg to the stage. Anna Hammarberg is from Business Sweden, and you will give us an introduction on the key industry areas in Sweden, right?
Thank you, Regina. Yes, I will. And I will also introduce myself later. But first, I wanted to start by giving you an overview of the key industry areas in Sweden, where we see globally competitive strongholds. And these key areas are areas that are fostering new solutions and technologies important for the green and digital transition in Sweden. And everything that you, Regina, has told us about is really the foundation of why we have developed these leading industry areas, basically. If we start and look at the area energy and battery, in the wake of electrification of the whole society, the green, stable and low-cost energy is driving investments in Sweden within the energy technology areas. For example, battery cell production in Sweden, or in hydrogen-based fossil-free steel production, for example. Sweden is the inventor of several leading energy technology areas driven by multinational companies like ABB, Alstom, Hitachi Energy, AKT, for example. If we look at the ambition Sweden had within the battery industry, we have a strong position and ambition to build a Swedish value chain in Sweden. Access to raw materials, low-cost fossil-free electricity, leading research and development, and of course, leading actors within the whole value chain, from mining to the production of the actual battery packs, advanced materials, to the recycling and application, for example, within the automotive industry. Looking at the automotive industry, transport and mobility is world-leading industry in Sweden, and is the largest export sector, a value of 15% of the total exports in Sweden. Volvo AB, Volvo Cars, the largest companies in Sweden. But I would say it's about the dynamic ecosystem and innovation cluster that makes us so special, where the vehicle manufacturers, suppliers, tech startups, the academia co-invent for future solution and technologies. We are in the forefront, I would say, within autonomous driving, e-mobility, road safety, alternative fuels with cutting-edge test beds. For example, Asserup and Lindholmen Science Park in the western part of Sweden. If we continue then, so manufacturing of cars, a long heritage, advanced manufacturing and industrials in large, well, it's the backbone of the Swedish economy. A long tradition, employs 500,000 people, more than 70% of Sweden's total export value, more than the basic industries altogether. Industrial capacity investment in Sweden are at historically high levels in Sweden, both Swedish but also foreign investments into Sweden. And actually, 40% of the workforce employed in the advanced manufacturing industry is from foreign-owned companies in Sweden. And why is this? The whole transformation, leading in automation, advanced digital processes, 3D printing, IoT, and advanced robotics, and of course, recycling as well. And this combined with a highly skilled workforce at a competitively low cost if you compare to European countries, high productivity, low strikes, a workforce very effective, and also obviously, as we have been discussing, the low cost fossil-free electricity. Moving on then to materials. So into all the other industries, and a common denominator for the whole green transition is the materials industry. And this is also a bit of a tradition and long history in Sweden. A hub for development of renewables and recyclable materials from the forest. Forest raw materials, primarily with a focus within bio-based chemicals, materials, textiles, and fuels. And also here we see many test beds, collaboration between academia and the startup community and the large industrial companies, 50 test beds focusing on bio-based materials. Also, I would say semiconductors, because Sweden has an ecosystem of suppliers of product and technologies in a number of niches in the semiconductor industry, connected to technology, system design, and materials. Last but not least, we have the life science and digital technology area. Well, Sweden is a life science nation. Home to more than 3,000 companies. Pharmaceutical industry is the second largest export industry area with global R&D centers and companies like AstraZeneca, Getinge, Elektra, etc. Where we are specifically strong, I would say, in developing new therapies, technologies, and treatments, but also world leader in precision medicine and also connected medical devices. And actually, the Swedish government has a vision to become leaders in e-health in 2025. And last but not least, digital technologies spanning all over businesses, sectors, disciplines, and supporting the green transition in Sweden. And the ICT sector is really strong, and its contribution to GDP is larger as the basic industries, all industry areas, all together. Producing tech brands like Ericsson, Klarna, and Spotify, but also a vibrant tech startup scene, as we heard Regina telling us about. Specific strongholds would be in the AI, IoT, gamification, IT security, machine learning, cybersecurity, etc. And looking at this all together, we have several opportunities for international companies. And if we click on this, yes. If we look at what we do, Business Sweden helps Swedish companies grow global sales and international companies to invest, innovate, and expand in Sweden. And we are commissioned by the Swedish government and the Swedish industry to support Swedish companies and support international companies to Sweden. And if we look at what we do, well, we are across 40 markets. We are more than 500 people. We also work across Sweden, all together with 20 Swedish regional investment promotion agencies, to support and grow Swedish companies and international companies in Sweden. I won't go through the details, but we have hands-on support and strategic advice across the process. So helping companies to find new opportunities in Sweden, build a business case, open doors, partnering, matchmaking, and guidance all through in setting up matchmaking or doing R&D collaborations in Sweden, or expanding business in Sweden. A great team that will support businesses within all of these key industry sectors. And I will just end with that slide. You have someone to contact for us to support you in connecting and joining Sweden and Swedish companies for innovation.
I would recommend for you to take a picture on this slide so you have all the contact details, and also contact Business Sweden, of course, the door into our ecosystem. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
I would now like to welcome the organizations that make Sweden innovation happen. The organizations that have been supporting Sweden Innovation Day since day one. The funding agencies, Formas, Vinnova, and the Energy Agency. Welcome to the stage, Rémy, Britta, Caroline. How does it feel to be a hero?
Everyday heroes, yes.
Yes, yes. No, Sweden Innovation Days are now, this is the 4th year. It's an amazing event. We're so happy that so many countries around the world get the opportunity to get to know Sweden better. Okay, so I would like to first, of course, introduce yourselves. What does your organizations do? These 3 funding agencies.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. I'm Rémy Kollesar. I'm Director for International Cooperation at Vinnova, Sweden's innovation agency, and one of the co-organizers of this event. And our mission is to strengthen Sweden's innovation capacity to support global growth and global sustainable development. So in this context, we need to have Sweden as a global leader for innovation. And in that perspective, I'm really delighted to have everybody here today and to listen and know better of the what we are doing at Vinnova, but what the whole Sweden is doing in terms of innovation and promoting innovation.
Thank you.
And my name is Britta Fängström. I'm a senior advisor at Formas, and Formas is a Swedish research council for sustainable development. And it's quite short. We are a research council for sustainable development, and that's what we do. And I'm an international research policy, and I also work with international collaborations. So I keep it short.
Please, Caroline.
Thank you. My name is Caroline Asserup. I'm head of the Climate Policy Department at the Swedish Energy Agency. And our mission is to lead the society's transition into a sustainable energy system. And in an international perspective, I would like to highlight 3 focus areas. The first one is international cooperation within the EU, the International Energy Agency, and Mission Innovation, Clean Energy Ministerial, where we raise our voice to keep pushing the agenda forward. Secondly, I would like to highlight international climate cooperation in accordance with the Paris Agreement, where the agency is very much engaged in the new instrument of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which allows for countries to voluntarily cooperate to reach their respective mitigation targets. And the third area is international business development and R&D cooperation, where we are engaged in bilateral dialogues with more than 15 countries globally, financing accelerator programs and showcasing lighthouse projects and best practice cases to accelerate the global green transition.
Thank you very much. So you've been supporting, you all been supporting Sweden Innovation Day since the start. I know it was a crazy idea at Vinnova, but Formas and the Energy Agency were not very slow on jumping into this crazy idea and creating this international platform showcasing the Swedish innovation ecosystem. So why is Sweden Innovation Day important for Vinnova?
Why it is important? Well, we want to, and you've been in the introduction showing a lot of facts and figures showing that Sweden is a leader, a champion in innovation. But facts and figures is not enough. I think we hopefully will have the coming days a lot of examples showing our knowledge and all our way of doing, the Swedish way of doing innovation and sustainable development. So that's one point. The other is I'm looking forward for increased knowledge. I hope I will learn a lot of things, and I hope everybody that will be listening will be learning new things, some kind of motivation and helping together to go forward. And the last thing for my organization and myself is partnership. How can we increase and show that Sweden is a partner of choice in innovation?
Very good. So same question to you, Formas. Britta, please.
Yeah, and of course, since we are dealing with sustainable development, as we all do in one or another way, international collaboration is very, very important. I mean, Sweden, we are a quite small country, and one country alone can't solve all the problems that we are facing today. We need to work together in an international setting to be able to find the solution to the grand challenges that we're facing. And we think that international collaboration that include research innovation with high impact, this could be a way and contribute to achieve the sustainable development goals. So that's why it's very important days we are here today, to meet and to interact together, and maybe we can find solutions if we work in an international context, because these challenges are too big for one country to solve.
Absolutely. Please, Caroline.
Energy
Agency.
Yes, I agree to what you both said. It's an important platform for us to showcase our work to the world, but also to find new partners, new collaborators. And this is something that we really need to do together. I mean, energy and the challenge to transit to sustainable energy is something that no one can achieve by themselves. We need to do it together, and we need to form new partnerships and to work together. And also to find new inspiration from each other, I think.
So what would you say, right, what is prioritized right now in each organization? You can start with Britta this time.
Yeah, from Formas perspective, we work mainly in multilateral settings, and that means that if we have a collaboration with many different countries around the world, it is the actors that decides who to collaborate with. So then you can decide if you have something you would like to do, a research and innovation project, is the actors in the project decides who to collaborate with, and that's very important. One other thing that we think from Formas is very important, and I guess my colleagues here agree, is that all international collaborations that we fund rely on equal and mutual collaboration. And it's very important to have benefits for all partners in the collaboration. It's not Sweden just going to have the most say. It's very important with the mutual, equal benefits for all partners in it. And our portfolio is mainly focusing on Horizon Europe and the European partnerships. And we have many running now in many different fields. So this is our main portfolio. But it's kind of interesting because the European partnerships are really increasing globally now. We can see that they have partners from Canada, South Korea, and so on. And that makes a very big and very great opportunities for everyone to participate, even if we have the flag European partnerships. Don't think it's nothing for me. I think it can include very much globally, and we are increasing globally all the time.
Everyone is welcome.
Yes.
And from the Energy Agency perspective, what is top prioritized right now?
Top priorities. Well, coming back to what I said earlier about our 3 prioritized areas, it's the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, of course, and also part of our work for international cooperation, securing the energy infrastructure and also the energy supply is a priority for us and for all the neighboring countries and again, all over the world, I guess, so it's very highly prioritized. And 2 other energy-specific topics that we are looking for international cooperation would be the battery value chain, as mentioned before, and also hydrogen for industry. And yeah, I'm convinced that we can learn a lot from each other here.
And from Vinnova?
Yes, if I want to complete what my colleagues have been saying, one thing at the moment that is top of our mind is the new launched innovation programs, impact innovation, that we actually launched together with Formas and the Swedish Energy Agency. And those are 5 programs that will be discussed later these days that are from start an international perspective, and I'm really sure this is a very important, very perfect opportunity for discussing that and also show the upcoming programs for all the audience. What we are also in a situation where we need to work with critical technologies of the futures, and there's no country that alone can develop those technologies. And that's something we are really working on now, try to find strategic partnership to develop critical technologies and technologies of the futures, like 6Gs, AI, of course, quantum technology, and so on. So that's another aspect of our interest in global collaboration. We want, of course, excellence and talent, and we want both to attract or work with the brightest mind in the world. And that's how you create the new technology and also the new solutions for the future. And we want also to find where Sweden, where we can have an impact, a global impact, not only a national impact. We have global challenges, and to solve those challenges, we have to see where we can provide solutions to create global impact.
Yes. Any call to action to the participants? We have almost, I think, even more than 100 countries participating this year. Any call to action? Specific?
Yes, of course. Please get in contact with us. We want to hear your feedback and your comments about these 2 days. And we want more collaboration and more cooperation. So don't stay in your corner. Just grab us.
That was really good. Words. I can't match that one.
You cannot echo each other.
I can't echo it. It was too good. So I'm just speechless. I was more into the action, like if you would like to collaborate with us, if we have opportunities and so on. I mean, the European Partnership have always open calls. And it's kind of new for Formas because we are a research council. So before we only finance researchers in our international collaborations, but now we're expanding. So we are also, as you are, financing everything from researchers to companies, civil society, cities, and so on. So this is something really to know. And we have two really nice partnerships going on now, actually. One in the driving urban transitions that we are working in together. They will open a call soon, so that's a really good chance. And then we also have in agroecology. Totally different area. So that's kind of nice, so another perspective.
Good.
Great. I think there's two aspects I would like to raise is leadership and partnership. Leadership because we have to we need leadership in to face the global challenges and in the challenges we're facing the whole world at the moment. And so we need leaders. We need leaders at political level. We need leaders at, like us, the agencies taking lead. But we need, in fact, leaders at all levels of the society. And we need countries to be leaders. So hopefully Sweden can be one of those leaders. And we need also to pioneer and try and test and move forward. So that's something when it comes to leadership that I think is very important, and hopefully we'll have a lot of example and inspiration from these 2 days. And the other is partnership. And partnership, you named several partnerships in terms of companies, universities, and the civil sectors, public sectors. But we also need partnership within those areas. So we are an example of partnership, the 3 organizations here. We need also partnership between companies to solve all those challenges, between sectors. And this partnership is not only that it sounds good, that's the way generally where actually innovations occurs. So that would be my last one, partnership and leadership.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for making Sweden Innovation Days possible. This is, of course, 2 days with a lot of information about the ecosystem. We will showcase some of the best partnerships and projects that are going on in Sweden. But please, we want you to join us in this. This is what Sweden Innovation Days is all about, to do this together globally. So thank you very much for me, and thank you, the panel here and the organizations making it happen, and hope you enjoy the 2 upcoming days. Thank you.